If you're new to the channel and like what you're watching, please subscribe to the channel and like the video, as it takes a lot of effort to make an informative video like this one, and it will help me out a lot. So without further ado, we are going straight to today's topic. Today's video is about woodlouse and other isopods. They have a lot of names, including woodlouse, pillbugs, isopods, and roly-polies. The term isopods include both uh, land and sea species. Um, and then the species that lives on land includes pillbugs and woodlouse, while the aquatic species include the giant isopods and some other isopods, such as parasitic isopods that live um, on the bodies of fish. There are over 10,000 species of isopods that are discovered, and so I'm obviously not going to name every single example. For land-based isopods, they all have rigid, segmented exoskeletons, one pair of antennae, and 7 pairs of joint limbs on the thorax. As seen from the 7 pair of legs, they are not insects because insects only has 3 pairs of legs. They are crustaceans, which make them more related to crabs and lobsters than insects. There are also gills that allow them to breathe, but we'll get to that later. Although woodlouse and pillbugs both live on land, you can actually find them easily under the rocks in your garden, and the coloration of both species are not different, not quite different, to be honest. There are some differences between the two species, and there are certain ways to identify them. A woodlouse cannot roll up like a ball as defense when it's threatened. It plays dead in order to avoid itself getting eaten, while a pillbug can roll up like a pill when it feels threatened, hence how it got its name. The first photo is basically the top view of a woodlouse, which is this one that I'm showing. You can clearly see the segmented abdomen and the antennas in the front part of the woodlouse. It is a common woodlouse. The of species that I'm handling is a common woodlouse, which is a very common species in the UK, as suggested by its name. And yeah, you can basically find them everywhere, to be honest, if you have a garden and some moisture. You can also see the eyes right behind the antennas, and also the 2 little tails right behind the abdomen. This is also a way to identify a woodlouse and a pillbug, as woodlouse have tails behind their abdomen, which is here, right behind here, um, and pillbugs do not. These are pillbugs shown in the image because, as you can see, they're a little bit different. They have no tails behind the abdomen compared to the first photo, the one that I just showed you, and which helps me to identify them as pillbugs instead of woodlouse. This photo shows the bottom view of a woodlouse. I flipped it over when I was handling the woodlouse, and we can clearly see that there is indeed 7 pairs of legs, which is 14 legs. And once again, the tails are clearly visible, so it tells me this is a woodlouse instead of a pillbug. Woodlouse and other isopods primarily feed on decaying plant matter, for example, dead leaves and wood. They also eat fungi like mold. Um, but if you're keeping them as pets, you can just give them vegetables and fruit, and also a little bit of moisture because they need the moisture to breathe. Yeah, and basically that would suffice, to be honest. They like damp and wet environments, as I just mentioned, because they need to breathe through gills, uh, just like a fish does, which needs to stay moist for oxygen exchange to occur. If if there's no moisture, the gills will dry out, which means they'll suffocate and die because they cannot breathe. Um, this is the main reason why you can often find woodlouse in damp or humid places, places with moisture, such as places like under rocks, logs, or in soil. They have a permeable exoskeleton that allows water loss. In dry conditions, they could dry out. So that proves that the moisture is quite important for them. By staying in moist environments, they can prevent excessive water loss and maintain the necessary hydration levels. The common rough woodlouse is considered to be pretty tough among the different woodlouse species found in the UK, which is the place I'm living in, and can actually survive up to 8 to 10 hours without water, but will also die off if it doesn't have the moisture it needs to breathe and keep itself hydrated. I have actually tested this a couple of times with different individual woodlouses, and it worked. If you don't give them, it turns out if you don't give them water, uh, as I said, they can't breathe, so they'll actually die. No matter if you give them food uh, or anything, they need water to breathe, basically. So you can if you want to get rid of them, you can also use pesticide, which basically works the same way as uh, my method, which is to dry them out and take water from their gills so they can't breathe and suffocate. But pesticides have different chemicals, which accelerates the process and takes a lot less time to kill the woodlouse. They are safe to handle, which means you can put it on your hand and play around with it. They are completely safe. They do not carry any diseases, unlike mosquitoes and flies. They do not bite humans, and it's not poisonous in any way. They don't contain toxins in their body, or they don't inject venom, right? They don't. Yeah, they're completely harmless. Here's a clip of me handling a woodlouse to prove my point. As you can see from the video, although they might not be really charming to look at, and I know they don't look the best, uh, they actually play a crucial role in breaking down and decomposing organic matter, such as dead plant material, leaves, and wood. They contribute to the process of decomposition by feeding on decaying organic material, breaking it down into smaller particles, and facilitating the recycle of nutrients back into the soil. They help the natural recycling of nutrients by feeding on dead plants and decaying organic matter, as mentioned before, making these nutrients available to other organisms in the ecosystem. So, yeah, if they're in your garden, don't kill them because they're not pests. They can actually be beneficial to your garden. So, they don't look really good, but I don't think killing them on first sight is necessary, to be honest. They also control the growth of fungi by eating them, and also mold, uh, because it is also something that they eat, and it can help a lot, especially here in the UK, where the moisture levels can get pretty high sometimes, and uh, there will sometimes be mold, which and a lot of moisture, which attracts woodlouse, and they'll feed on those mold, which is uh, I wouldn't say beneficial to humans, but to help us clear out some mold, which is a good thing, obviously. All these evidence show that woodlouse are not pests, and they are quite important in the ecosystem. This is the case for isopods in the ocean as well, and they're also decomposers. For example, in the deep sea environment, um, there are these huge isopods called giant isopods. Um, they live really deep under the sea, and which means they're adapted to extreme pressures and very low temperatures in the deep sea. Um, they are scavengers and they eat dead organisms that sinks from the surface, which basically helps cleans up um, the bottom of the ocean and help to maintain a good environment for other organisms to thrive in. We will talk about them in a future video. This right here is a species of isopods living close to the ocean, I would say. They live in rock pools, which is basically uh, the, the little rock pools you can find in beaches, or yeah, they live with crabs and uh, other stuff you can find in rock pool, basically. They live in a saltwater environment, and well, it's kind of unfortunate because I couldn't find a picture of the giant isopod that's royalty free, which means it's you can use it in your videos and there's no copyright or whatsoever. Yeah, this is the only video I can find. The only photo I can find. I'm sorry. And yeah, so this also proves that they exist in a wide uh variety of locations, and you can see them basically everywhere around the Earth, except for Antarctica. Um, as I mentioned before, that woodlouse is not a pest, but too much woodlouse can be an issue. A woodlouse infestation can become problematic in certain situations, particularly when their populations are high or when they invade living spaces. In gardens, greenhouses, or if you're keeping crops, if you're a farmer or whatsoever, high populations of woodlouse may eat the living plants or seeds, causing a lot of damage to the crops. Uh, they normally feed on dead plants, but if they can't, dead plants and fungi. But if they cannot find enough dead plants to eat, yeah, they would eat the living ones, which is not beneficial. Um, they are also attracted to humid environments because it helps them breathe and hydrate. Uh, and if there's a lot of moisture in a home or building, they may go inside the building to seek shelter and just wander around because they like moisture. And yeah, this can be a problem in areas where there's uh, a lot of water and they're not exactly pleasant to encounter because not a lot of people like them. And yeah, you wouldn't want to step on a woodlouse and anytime soon when you're walking or just living in your house. So to sum up the video, isopods are decomposers. They feed on decaying organic matter and fungi. They have gills that rely on moisture to allow them to breathe, and they'll die if there's not enough moisture. They can be beneficial to the environment, but too many of them might cause a problem. So this is the end of the video. I hope you like the content that I made. I've actually spent a lot of time making this. As you can see, the video is quite long, but I can't really help it because I want to cramp in as much information as possible for you guys uh, to make sure you have a full understanding of woodlouse and other isopods. So if you have watched this far, feel free to comment and leave some suggestions for the next video. With that, I'm out and I'll see you in the next video, I guess. Bye.